Police have arrested a local TV anchor accused of DUI after a wrong-way crash.
And behind the wheel of a deadly drunk driving accident in Biddeford will spend the next 10 years behind bars.
Sentenced today for driving drunk the wrong way down I-25.
Salem man is dead following a tragic traffic accident. Charged with DWI in that accident is
cautious. They don't know what the guy's doing in there or why he was running. They said DUI.
First look now at the man charged with driving while drunk and causing the accident that killed a woman.
Rumors the man accused of killing two and injuring two others in a DUI accident.
Kenner police say a mother lost her unborn baby when a drunk driver with a long history of DWI arrest slammed into her car. Police records show the suspect has 6 prior DWI arrests in 3 parishes.
Four Canadians are killed on our road every day in Canada, and 175 are injured every day on our roads in Canada. The mission statement is to stop impaired driving and support victims of the violent crime. If we could have a moment's silence to remember victims who we have lost and people who have been injured due to impaired crashes.
I've seen I've seen stuff that I really wish I'd never seen. But really the only word I can use to describe it is devastation, and really just a lack of responsibility to the rest of the safety in the community.
I think it's one of those, if you want to call it a crime, because drinking and driving is not always a crime, right? You can be at really low limits and just be under provincial statutes. But I think it's one of those things where it spans all age groups, it spans all cultures. It's a problem that's right through the society, and I think a lot of it is our education, our ability to get out there and contact people and let them know that they can't be doing that and what some of the consequences are really important.
So on October 1st, 2005, I went to go see a couple movies with my girlfriends. It was Exorcism of Emily Rose, actually. And after the movies, we got coffee and stuff like that. And then we started to make our way home, my friend and I. And we got a flat tire, and I pulled over on the side of the road under a street lamp. And as I went to go change the dummy tire, I guess a drunk driver had hit me from behind the car and smashed me in between my car. So my leg was severed from the knee down, and my knee was in a million places. And actually a police officer was traveling behind that driver, and he pulled over to handle the whole situation, and he saved my life actually with a bungee cord and tying it off, and the ambulance was there instantly. And I think the drunk driver just got put to the side of the road, and I was their immediate care until I guess we reached the hospital, where the leg was already severed, and there was nothing holding onto it but skin. So really they just decided to amputate it and then take out the femur and my knee at the time. And then it took about a year in the hospital for it to close, and then I went to outpatient care in my own home. So that was where like doctors, nurses and stuff would come to my house instead of the hospital. So, and then that probably took about a year, and then we had to do court and stuff like that. And she got, what did she get? She only got a year house arrest. That's what it was, a year house arrest, 6 months curfew, 150 hours community service, and I have the rest of my life without a left leg. You know, you go from an active, healthy 17-year-old soccer player to, somebody on forearm crutches in a wheelchair and prosthetic legs, and, it's a huge different lifestyle of, doctors and ableness, ability almost.
Working in the largest trauma center in Canada, we definitely have seen our share of young people that come in as a result of drinking and driving or distractions in driving. And I think, probably Obviously for the person that's injured, that's impactful, but for the families and for the rest of society, sometimes we forget how it impacts them as well. So the goal here is, to do whatever we can to prevent these catastrophic injuries so everybody lives full, productive lives.
There was this one time I was at a party and there was a guy who was quite impaired on marijuana, and we all told him that there was no way he could operate a car, let alone walk out the front door. And he insisted on going to get food, and he wouldn't let anyone else drive, so he took himself and 4 other guys with him and sped off the street. Thankfully nothing happened, but something definitely could have. I see this on weekly occurrence every weekend. Someone thinks they can, because while impaired they think they're invincible, and they're definitely not. So there's so many instances where people get killed, and it's just a matter of time before that happens to someone we know.
They really need to think it through and just find a ride home. Like, it's not that hard. Just plan ahead, or cab home, honestly. Like, it's $20, $20 or a life. Which one would you choose?
October 2013, 911 caller advised of a possible impaired driver on Highway 404. Prior to police arrival, the vehicle had stopped in the shoulder. The driver exhibited signs of impairment, alcohol in breath, eyes bloodshot, speech slurred. He was arrested. Empty beer cans were in the vehicle. At the police station, breath readings were 142 and 145 milligrams of alcohol and 100 milliliters of blood. He was charged with impaired driving and drive over 80. On the trial date, before even commencing the trial, the Crown didn't feel there was enough grounds to make a breath demand.
I didn't drink and drive as impaired drink and drive, but I would have a beer and drive my car. And the day that my niece was buried, I stood over her coffin and I vowed that I would never drink and drive again. And to this day, I haven't. She was killed in 2011.
My mom was killed by an impaired driver. She went for a run just like she did every night, and a man who just came from the bar was driving home and he hit her from behind.
People just don't think that anything is going to happen to them. They really do feel confident that they are definitely okay to get into a car behind a wheel and drive. What they don't realize is that your reaction times are much slower. You're not going to be in full control, and the weight of a vehicle at the speed that you're traveling obviously presents 3 crashes. When you look at the anatomy of a crash, there's actually 3 collisions that occur simultaneously. So for example, you'll have a vehicle traveling at maybe 120 kilometers an hour, and it comes into contact with either another vehicle, a pole, some stationary object. That's the first crash. The second crash that occurs is the occupants in the vehicle. They continue to travel at 120 kilometers an hour until they come to a complete stop against the windshield, other passengers, or if they're not buckled up, and they're ejected, maybe they come into contact with the road. The third collision that occurs is the internal organs. So the brain that hits the inner table of the skull, the heart, the internal organs that hit the rib cage, etc. And all of that happens in under 1/10 of a second. So you can understand this, why people die or why people are left with catastrophic injuries.
I've arrested a lot of people over the years that have, in my opinion, been drunk while driving, and the excuses I've heard are, I'm not that drunk, I'm okay to drive, I didn't have to go that far. People can come up with excuses for their behavior till they're blue in the face. So to understand why people make that decision is really hard for me to understand.
No one thinks that this can happen to them, but honestly it can happen to anyone, and you really just need to be safe and plan ahead, because it could be you, it could be your friend, it could be your parent, it could be anyone, and you really just need to think ahead so you're not the reason that it happens.
The person that killed my niece received 4 years, just shy of 4 years, and I really find it hard to believe that a young woman's life, 23 years old, the person that took it only has to serve 4 years in jail.
I think a lot of people, if they just think to themselves that, you know, just as an individual, it's not something that I want to do, it's not something that I won't, it's not something that I will do. You think about a lot of the crimes that are possible, a lot of crimes you commit, a lot of the bad choices people can make in life. A lot of times you say, no, it's not for me. I'm not this person that does that. I'm not the guy or I'm not the girl that's going to be caught in this situation. I would never ever do that to somebody. If people just say, I'm not going to be the one that will drink and drive. I'm not going to be the person that's going to decide, you know what, maybe I'll save $25 on a taxi and I'll drive my own car. It ends up costing their lives. So if, just as the individual, everyone says, you know what, that's not something I'm interested in, that's not something I want to do, then I think that's what you can do to make a difference.
I don't ever think that, you know, people intend to get in their cars all drunk and impaired and decide that they're going to hurt somebody. I think that they're just being, you know, selfish and reflecting on how they're going to get home safely opposed to, you know, our public roads and who's going to be on them.
I'm often asked what's the worst thing that I've seen in a trauma unit, and you know, I mean, we could be here for days talking about different situations. For me, what stays with me is the sounds of screams from parents when we have to tell them that, I'm sorry your son or daughter didn't make it, or I'm sorry your son or daughter will never walk again, or will be on life support, etc. And, you know, all of those dreams that those children would have had are forever gone because, you know, it's not going to be the same life anymore. So it's really heart-wrenching for the trauma team, for the medical community. You know, and time again, here comes another one. And it's very frustrating. And, you know, we want to make it stop. And I think that it goes back to that question that you asked, what can we do as a society? We all need to take better actions for our choices.